Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Yasmine Ali, cardiologist and best-selling author, and this is my podcast, Positive Vibes on the Sunny Side. Each episode, my goal is to bring you uplifting stories and insights to inspire you to live your happiest, healthiest, most positive life. So thank you for joining me. Hello again, everyone. I hope you're enjoying the holiday season. For this episode, which will be the last one of 2025, and don't worry, I'll be back in mid-January, but for this episode, I wanted to do an end-of-the-year roundup, a potpourri of sorts, and I'll begin with the Christmas letter I received from Dylan Crowell. Now, do you remember Dylan Crowell from episode 7 of this podcast? If you missed that one, you can find it in the episodes list in your podcast app or wherever you're listening to this podcast right now. Look for Episode 7, The Pen Pals Project, interview with Dylan Crowell. In that episode, you'll hear about the enormous Pen Pals project that Dylan has undertaken, why he started it, and why he continues to do it. And you'll hear about how I became one of Dylan's pen pals, and I am so grateful for that. So, one of the latest bits of correspondence from Dylan was his Christmas letter to me, and I loved it so much that I asked Dylan for permission to share it with you, which he has granted. So here is his letter. Christmas Newsletter 2025. What a year it has been! 2025 has certainly brought its share of ups, downs, and everything in between. But as we reach the holiday season, I am grateful for the blessings that have come my way. Just a few weeks ago, I made the difficult decision to leave my job in hopes of stepping away from a toxic work environment and beginning a healthier journey forward. It has not been easy, as I am currently navigating paycheck-to-paycheck living and tighter budgeting, but I am optimistic that better chapters are ahead. Even with the challenges, this year has also been filled with unforgettable joys. I was incredibly lucky to travel to New York City 3 times and see 24 shows on Broadway. Live theater always brings my heart to life, and I am so thankful I was able to experience so many wonderful performances. One of the biggest blessings continues to be my pen pal community. Even on a limited budget, I managed to send out more than 2,000 cards, letters, and words of encouragement this year to people who needed them. My pen pal chain has been going strong for almost 6 years now, and I have no intention of slowing down. I truly believe in the power of the written word and small acts of kindness. Thanksgiving and Christmas remain my favorite time of year, and I hope you're feeling the magic of the season as well. Caleb and I are still going strong. Hard to believe that in just a few months, we'll be celebrating 2 wonderful years together. Time really does fly when you're happy. Our fur babies, Booger the cat and Lulu the dog, are doing great. They may be getting older, but they are sweeter and cuddlier than ever. We adore them both to pieces. My mental health has been on a real roller coaster this year, but I am working every day to get back to a stronger and healthier place. If this year has taught me anything, It's that resilience, gratitude, and hope can carry you much farther than you realize. As for Christmas gifts, I'm asking Santa for books of stamps to help keep the pen pal chain alive, and maybe a little travel money for my next adventure back to New York City. What are you asking for this Christmas? Wishing you and your family a warm, joyful, and peaceful holiday season. May the new year bring you blessings, adventures, and moments worth celebrating. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year from Dylan. Now, if you'd like to send Dylan some stamps or become one of his pen pals, he always loves it when people write to him. He will write you back promptly. You can send those to the following address: Dylan Crowell, that's Dyllan, Crowell, Crowell, Dylan Crowell, P.O. Box 517, Burns, Tennessee, that's Burns, Burns, Tennessee 37029. And I'll put that in the show notes as well. Next, I'd like to share with you some of the books I read in 2025, in case you'd like to add them to your reading list. Now, last episode, you heard me speak with Natalie Nixon about her book, Move, Think, Rest. Well, I wanted to give you a few more that I think will serve you well in the new year. And I will have links to all of these books where you can view and purchase them in the show notes, as always, or you can subscribe to my Positive Vibes e-magazine and newsletter, and you'll see the list in my latest post. And by the way, when you subscribe to my Positive Vibes e-magazine, which is completely free to do, you'll get a free Positive Vibes ebook. So be sure to check that out. The link to subscribe is in the show notes, or you can go to my website's homepage and sign up there. My personal website address is www.yasminealimd.com. That's YasmineAlimd.com. YasmineAlimd.com. So, back to this book list. I read about 25 to 30 books a year, and I read a lot of nonfiction because I just read it faster than I do with fiction. With fiction, which I absolutely love and which I write, I tend to take my time with the quality of the writing, the words on the page, the characters, and the story. I really savor it and think about it. So anyway, that's why this list I'm about to share with you is mainly nonfiction, and it's a highlight of the very best books I read this year. Not all of them came out this year, but a book doesn't have to be a new release to be worth reading or rereading. The first book I want to recommend to you is Dr. Sanjay Gupta's latest, titled It Doesn't Have to Hurt: Your Smart Guide to a Pain-Free Life. Dr. Gupta, as you may know, is a medical correspondent for CNN, and he is also a practicing neurosurgeon. And as a physician myself, I found this book to be nothing short of a revolution in the thinking around pain management. I think everyone should read it, including everyone working in healthcare, especially everyone working in healthcare, because so much of what we have been taught for decades about how to manage pain is not actually the best evidence-based medicine as we know it now. Let me give you an example that Dr. Gupta mentions. You've probably heard the acronym RICE: rest, ice, compression, and elevation, particularly for an acute injury. The thinking behind that was that all inflammation is bad and must be stopped, and those techniques, rest, ice, compression, and elevation, are meant to tamp down the acute inflammation. But it's chronic inflammation, the kind that goes on for months and years, that is the real problem behind chronic diseases. Not acute inflammation as the body's immediate response to an injury, which actually begins a very important healing process that prevents the chronic inflammation later. So maybe if we just let the body do its thing and help the body do its thing, we won't have the chronic pain syndromes that can develop in certain cases later on. So if you sprain your ankle, for instance, the body will send in all sorts of molecules and begin a localized inflammatory process to start to heal that area. And that natural healing process is actually integral to long-term healing as well. So a better acronym Dr. Gupta describes would be MEAT instead of RICE. So MEAT would be M for movement, E for exercise, A for analgesia, and T for treatment. So let's talk about the M, movement. As he says in the book, and this is page 133 of the hardback, mild movement or exercise improves blood flow and circulation of healing agents to the injured area. Okay, exercise, the E in that MEAT acronym. Exercise, this component is meant to kick in once the pain has lessened. For a muscle injury, this would involve gentle moves designed to slowly restore function and flexibility. Then A is for analgesia. Cautious use of pain relievers if necessary, as well as the use of natural options such as turmeric or capsaicin instead of anti-inflammatories, which may inhibit healing for the reasons already described. And he has a box of these descriptions. T in MEAT is treatment. The final component of MEAT refers to the range of tailored early treatment through various therapeutic approaches. These might include physical therapy, massage, acupuncture or other dry needling, myofascial release, and other techniques using targeted massage to release tension in a specific muscle area, joint mobilization to improve range of motion, as well as use of ice and heat. And he goes on to say that heat and cold therapy both can help relieve pain, though they work in very different ways and are best for different situations. And then he goes on to elaborate on this, and I only read a very small part of his whole description of the MEAT acronym and the evidence and studies behind it. So I highly encourage you to have a look at this book. There's so much more in it. He has strategies for what he calls a pain smart living. He talks about mindset. He talks about managing stress and building resilience. And, you know, you've heard me talk about resilience a lot. It's part of my ORCHID model for positive living. That's what the R in ORCHID stands for, resilience. O for optimism, R for resilience, C for creativity, H for health, I for integrity, and D for determination. And a lot of that is actually in this book because it helps prevent and manage pain. So I'll just leave you with the description that appears on the back cover. Quote, "Over the past few decades, we've learned more than ever about the true nature of pain. We better understand what causes it, what may best relieve it, and what we can do to minimize or even eliminate some types of pain for the rest of our lives. Many of those life-changing insights have not yet been made easily available to the public. With this book, I want to change that. Over the past few years, I've placed both my neurosurgeons and investigative journalist's lens on the problem of pain. And I am now convinced it doesn't have to hurt. There is hope, there is help, and there is healing beyond anything we may have imagined. All right, so that's Dr. Sanjay Gupta. His new book, It Doesn't Have to Hurt, Your Smart Guide to a Pain-Free Life. And link will be in the show notes. The next book I want to tell you about is called Escape the Writer's Web. Untangle your procrastination type, discover personalized solutions, and transform your writing life. And this book is by Colleen M. Story. Now, it's aimed at writers, as you can tell from the title, but I have read this book twice now, and I think that it is the most comprehensive and detailed and helpful description and analysis and assessment of procrastination and the many different types of procrastination that I think it can apply to anyone, particularly anyone who is trying to finish a project or has a domain of their life that they really just can't seem to get to, and yet it's important to them, but they can't seem to get to it. So this could be any kind of creative type, any kind of writer or artist, but also a hobbyist or a photographer or an engineer or someone who's working on a project and just can't seem to finish it. It really has so many broad applications, and that's why I'm bringing it up in the podcast. And Colleen, so again, this book is by Colleen M. Story. It's called Escape the Writer's Web. It's really a tome on procrastination, and the paperback book is fantastic and has a lot of quizzes and action plans and steps to take. I really love how applicable this book is and how personalized it is. Once you take this very, very good detailed quiz and self-assessment, you will see where your top procrastination types lie. And you will have action plans for all of those. And there are plans for the different blends of procrastination because many of us have more than one type. And so Colleen has done such a great job with this book, and she has also a workbook that goes along with it. And there will be links to those in the show notes. But I want to give you a rundown right now, just from the table of contents, of what the 13 different procrastination types are that Colleen has identified. And Colleen, by the way, is both a novelist and a nonfiction writer and has spent many, many years as a freelance health writer. So she does know how to interpret the clinical evidence and the studies out there and put it all together in a very accessible way that anyone can read and learn from. So these 13 procrastination types that she has outlined include the worrier, the avoider, the dreamer, the fun seeker, the perfectionist, the crisis maker, the distracted, the overdoer, the guilty, the disorganized, the overthinker, the tired, and the defier. And so each of these types has different ways in which it contributes to your procrastinating on something. And I highly recommend you take a look at this. It's a wonderful book for the new year. And just to leave you with the back cover detail, are you trapped in the web of procrastination? Every writer, and again, I would substitute writer there with whatever your profession may be, every writer knows the struggle, endless distractions, self-doubt, and unfinished drafts gathering dust. Procrastination isn't just a habit. It's a web that traps you, holding your stories hostage and leaving you tangled in inaction. But here's the truth. Not all procrastination is the same. In Escape the Writer's Web, you'll discover the 13 types of procrastinators: the worrier, the dreamer, the perfectionist, the avoider, and more. Uncover how each uniquely sabotages your writing progress and unearth practical strategies to help you break free. What if you're not just one type? Procrastination is complex. Explore how your types blend and interact so that you can untangle even the most intricate patterns. Backed by scientific research and the author's 25-plus years of experience working with writers, Escape the Writer's Web provides a compassionate, practical guide to reclaiming your time, creativity, and confidence. Imagine escaping the cycle of avoidance and overwhelm. Picture yourself finishing that novel, holding your published book in your hands, or launching your dream writing career. You have the power to escape. Your stories are waiting. Let's set them free. And again, that is Escape the Writer's Web by Colleen M. Story. Oh, and I think it's only fair to mention that, yes, I am a procrastinator when it comes to certain things. I really do think everybody who is trying to achieve something in life has an element of procrastination to it. And there are different reasons why we each procrastinate. But so I think it's only fair to mention that I am a blend of some of those types. But my very top type, if you will, my primary type is overdoer. And anyone who knows me is probably not surprised by that. But the book gave me so many great strategies for overcoming some of my procrastination tendencies, and I think it will help you as well, which is why I mention it. I also love that Colleen's book doesn't just attribute procrastination to a lack of willpower, because, many of us who procrastinate in one domain of our lives are actually very high achievers in other domains. So clearly we have the willpower to do other things, and it's not just a matter of summoning up more willpower to address one particular domain of our lives where we may be procrastinating. It's so much more complex than that. And, book after book really is showing us that summoning up more willpower to break bad habits or to break through problems or hangups that we may have is not usually the answer. It's so much more complicated than that, and it's worth exploring, what may be holding you back personally. And that's why I think it's a great book for the new year. So, Colleen M. Story. Now, the next book I want to mention to you is one that I actually reread for maybe the third time this year. And it's a classic, Deep Work: Rules for Focused Success in a Distracted World by Cal Newport. Now, many of you will be familiar with Cal Newport's work. I think that his book, Deep Work, this one I'm telling you about, is his best one. It's certainly his foundational theory. And I mean, more than just a theory, it's a very practical book. So I'm going to read from the cover. One of the most valuable skills in our economy is becoming increasingly rare. If you master this skill, you'll achieve extraordinary results. Deep work is the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. It's a skill that allows you to quickly master complicated information and produce better results in less time. Deep work will make you better at what you do and provide the sense of true fulfillment that comes from craftsmanship. In short, deep work is like a superpower in our increasingly competitive 21st century economy. And yet, most people have lost the ability to go deep, spending their days instead in a frantic blur of email and social media, not even realizing there's a better way. In Deep Work, author and professor Cal Newport flips the narrative on impact in a connected age. Instead of arguing distraction is bad, he instead celebrates the power of its opposite. Dividing this book into two parts, he first makes the case that in almost any profession, cultivating a deep work ethic will produce massive benefits. He then presents a rigorous training regimen presented as a series of 4 rules for transforming your mind and habits to support this skill. A mix of cultural criticism and actionable advice, Deep Work takes the reader on a journey through memorable stories, from Carl Jung building a stone tower in the woods to focus his mind, to a social media pioneer buying a round-trip business class ticket to Tokyo to write a book free from distraction in the air, and no-nonsense advice, such as the claim that most serious professionals should quit social media and that you should practice being bored. Deep Work is an indispensable guide to anyone seeking focused success in a distracted world. So Cal Newport coined this term, deep work, and this book actually came out in 2016, so 10 years ago, and it is still highly relevant, which is why I think it's a classic. And if you have an interest in improving the quality of your life and your thinking, your cognition, and freedom from distraction, this book is a must-read. All right, my next book recommendation is Touching Peace, Practicing the Art of Mindful Living by Thich Nhat Hanh. That's ThichNhatHanh. Thich Nhat Hanh. He is the legendary Zen master. Many of you will be familiar with his work, and I have mentioned him many times on this podcast and discussed him with some of our guests. You might want to have a look at the episode that I did with Dr. Sarah Saman, a cardiologist who is also a yoga instructor and has a Master of Fine Arts and an equestrian and just dressage and a mindfulness instructor. And we talked about this a bit in that episode. That episode is called Follow Your Bliss and Doors Will Open, interview with Dr. Sarah Saman. So have a look at that episode if you're interested in learning more of this in application. But to get back to this book, Touching Peace, this is another book that didn't come out this year. It was actually published in the revised edition in 2009, but I read it at the beginning of this year, and I have to say it really changed my practice of mindfulness and meditation. And I find it to be the most highly accessible work by Thich Nhat Hanh. Again, he was a Zen master and Buddhist monk. He was nominated by Martin Luther King Jr. for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1967. He has written so many books. It's just from the back cover. Thich Nhat Hanh is a Vietnamese Buddhist monk whose lifelong efforts to generate peace and reconciliation moved Martin Luther King Jr. to nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1967. So I'll just read you the back cover copy. In this follow-up to the best-selling Being Peace, Thich Nhat Hanh expands his teachings on practicing the art of mindful living by giving specific, practical instructions on extending our meditation practice into our daily lives. The book reminds us to nourish ourselves by focusing on what is refreshing and healing within and all around us. And as I've said, it's such a highly accessible work. I think it's his most highly accessible work with such simple, easy to understand guides to different meditations, very easy to apply, very straightforward instructions. And I think if you have any interest in expanding your mindfulness, your being of mindfulness within the world, and your mindfulness practice, starting to practice meditation, it's a great guide for that. So have a look at Touching Peace, Practicing the Art of Mindful Living by Thich Nhat Hanh. And I will put that link in the show notes, as with all the rest. And finally, I want to include a bonus book. I'm not finished reading it yet, although I'm almost there. It just came out in November. It's Dick Van Dyke's 100 Rules for Living to 100, An Optimist's Guide to a Happy Life. Now, does that sound like positive vibes or what? This is a memoir in essays. Very easy to read, short chapters. You can pick it up, read a chapter, set it back down. A lot to think about. Some really great wisdom in here, as you might imagine, from Dick Van Dyke. Some very fun and funny stories. And I'll just read to you from the back cover. It's been an intensely eye-opening process these past many months as I've reflected on my 99 years of life, work, and relationships. I've unearthed lost treasures of memory, reconsidered my well-worn stories, connected fragments from my distant past to immediate present, and hit upon patterns and themes that span the entirety of my life. But behind all my pondering over the stories in this book, there was always an impatient question. Yes, Dick, but so what? What good is this to anybody else? I've made it to 100 in no small part because I have stubbornly refused to give in to the bad stuff in life. Failures and defeats, personal losses, loneliness and bitterness, the physical and emotional pains of aging, and so much more. That stuff is real, but I have not let it define me. And folks, that is the essence of positive vibes, is it not? So once more, that's Dick Van Dyke's 100 Rules for Living to 100, An Optimist's Guide to a Happy Life. Link will be in the show notes. And if you'd like to see any of the books that I have written, want to add those to your reading list if you haven't already, I have Walk Through Fire, The Train Disaster That Changed America, and it was actually the writing of that book, as you heard in the very first episode of this podcast, that led me to create Positive Vibes. And then my second book, a novel, is called The View from the Cliffs, and that is a story. The tagline is 3 physicians, 2 decades, 3 continents, 1 love story. And that book has gotten a lot of great feedback, I'm happy to say. So you can find my books at my online bookstore, lastskywriting.com. That's LASTSKYWRITING.com, lastskywriting.com. And I am working on 2 more books in the coming year. One is another novel. You will hear more about that later. As with reading, writing fiction takes me longer than writing nonfiction, so the novel will likely be out in 2027. But I'm hoping that my work of nonfiction, my next work of nonfiction, which is 5 Steps to Successful Career Change, Courage to Pivot, is coming out at the end of next year. That is my hope. I will likely have courses around that. I know a lot of you are talking to me interested in career transition and career pivots, especially in this next year. So I am trying to address that need. You will hear more about that on the podcast. And, you know, almost all of the people that I've interviewed, all of my guests, you've heard me talk to them about their careers, and many of them have made some very successful career pivots that you will want to hear about. So if this is your first time listening to the podcast, have a listen to the previous episodes. And with that, I will wish you a very happy holiday season and a wonderful new year.
Should old acquaintance be forgot and never brought to mind? Should old acquaintance be forgot and old lang syne? For old lang syne, my dear, for old lang syne, we'll take a cup of kindness yet for old lang syne.